na ye tufa na yakọ mrasha bedwafie mo se de nya nte ye na homache no nan na NPP mrasha bedwafo bia di kan kura wo hokotena speaker nensa nifa so na chesa chesa o mo na ye dom dodo no na ye nua be ma bednego asante asiedu e wa hoba ne so.
Mr. Speaker, I hope this reaches you in good health and spirits. This is to congratulate you heartily on your ascension to the high office of the Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic. You have, for almost 3 decades, served all successive parliaments of the 4th Republic with distinction, and thus your elevation to the Speakership of the House signifies a recognition of your invaluable role in the evolution of our Parliament. Mr. Speaker, while some of the events leading to your assumption of office as Speaker on 7th January were regrettable, I am confident that the House, as a collective, under your leadership, would move swiftly to overcome this initial mishap and partner with the executive to advance the progress and development of our country. For my part, I assure you and the House of my commitment to work with you to realize the aspirations of the Ghanaian people. Accept, Mr. Speaker, the assurances of my highest esteem. Yours sincerely, Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo. This is to the Right Honorable Speaker, Office of Parliament, Parliament House, Accra, and copied the Vice President, Jubilee House, and the Chief of Staff, Jubilee House, Accra. Honorable members, I have decided to make a formal communication to the House and through you to the good people of Ghana. As you all know, this is the first sitting of the first meeting of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. Honorable members, I would like first and foremost to express my gratitude once again to all of you for your support in electing me as the Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. In accordance with Article 95, Clauses 1 and 3 of the Constitution, and Orders 8 and 9 of the Standing Orders of the Parliament of Ghana. As I pledge to you and the nation on the occasion of my election as Speaker, I am fully committed to serving this House and this country faithfully and conscientiously as the Speaker for members of Parliament and indeed all Ghanaians. Let me give a special welcome to the fresh hands in the House. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate each and every one of you once again on being elected or re-elected as a member of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic. I am particularly delighted to welcome and reliably informed the 123 fresh hands who are assuming your seats as members of this House for the first time. You have now earned the privilege to be addressed in this chamber as honorable. And please, honorable you must be. Whatever may have been your inspiration for choosing to embark on this path, I would like you to know that the position you now occupy as a member of Parliament is a position of leadership, of honor, of privilege, of trust, and above all, of service. Your constituents have reposed in you, as in the rest of your colleagues, an enormous amount of confidence and trust in electing you to represent them and their interests in this House of the people of Ghana. You have a reciprocal responsibility and obligation to serve them and the nation with honor and integrity. Remember at all times that you lead your people best by serving them with respect, with humility, and with diligence. My office, together with the Office of the Clerk of Parliament and the Parliamentary Service as a whole, stands ready to assist you with a range of services and resources, including training, necessary to make your transition into your new role as smooth as possible. I'm also confident that you will find among your returning colleagues many who are able and willing to help you navigate and learn the ropes here as quickly as you can, so that you can contribute effectively to the business of the House and make an impact within the shortest possible time. Ultimately, responsibility for having a successful career in this House rests with you. Remember that this House is a house of rules and procedures. Thus, knowledge and, with time, mastery of the rules and procedures that govern the business and proceedings of the House will be indispensable to your success as a member, as well as make my job as Speaker all the more effective. May your career in this House be as long as productive as mine has been. A word to those of you who are going to become ministers. Honorable members, by the dictates of the Constitution of the Fourth Republic, some of you will in due course be nominated and, with the approval of this House, appointed by the President to positions in his administration as ministers and deputy ministers of state. During my 20-year career as a member of Parliament, I had the opportunity to serve as a minister of state in different capacities. This so-called, quote, hybrid, unquote, feature of our constitutional system means, in effect, that a certain number of you will, at a given time, be under a duty to serve three masters: constituency, Parliament, and the President. Honorable members, you are all well aware of the biblical injunction to not serve two masters, lest you become, quote, devoted to one and despise the other, unquote. I know the pastors among you can give you where to find this statement. But for some of my colleagues who have never looked at the Holy Book, you can get it in Matthew 6:24. In your situation, it is even worse. You are enjoined to serve not 2 masters, but what? 3 masters. Needless to say, our experience has shown that in the case of members who double as ministers, the master that is often sacrificed and left holding the shorter end of the stick is Parliament. Members who are appointed to ministerial office generally prioritize their executive branch roles over their parliamentary roles. Scholars and students of governance have observed and noted the myriad ways in which this arrangement has served to unbalance the relationship between the executive and Parliament, and affected adversely the ability of Parliament and of members of Parliament to carry out faithfully their representative, financial, oversight, deliberative, and legislative roles. Until we reform this constitutional arrangement to improve the country's governance, however, I believe all parties, all players implicated in this arrangement, namely the President, Parliament itself, and those members appointed as ministers, have each a responsibility to take steps to minimize the negative impact of this arrangement on the business, mandate, and performance of the House. As a former member of this House, with a parliamentary career as long and as old as this Fourth Republic, one thing I do know for sure is that drawing a large number of ministers and deputy ministers of state from the membership of Parliament is unhelpful to the business of Parliament, and also weakens Parliament's ability to perform its proper role in the promotion of good governance. Be that as it may, members appointed to serve as ministers or deputy ministers must understand that you are members of Parliament first and foremost. In fact, in most or nearly all cases, you will have earned your appointment as Minister of State on account of your position or standing as a member of Parliament. It behoves on such members, therefore, to continue to take your parliamentary roles and responsibilities seriously. Indeed, the anecdotal evidence suggests that among members who double as ministers, those who strive to balance their responsibilities to both branches of government are, as difficult as they may, tend to have more successful and longer careers on both sides. I now proceed to say a word of the expectation of the people on the 8th Parliament of the Fourth Republic. Honorable members, in the general elections of December 7, 2020, out of which this Parliament has emerged, the people of Ghana sent a loud and clear message to the political class when they voted to deny both the New Patriotic Party, NPP for short, and the National Democratic Congress, NDC, single-party control of the legislative branch. The score of 137 for NPP and 137 for NDC with 1 independent. The decision of no majority party and no minority party in Parliament is a call for us to chart a new path, to embark on new ways of transacting parliamentary business. What you know or ought to know is the business of the people. I urge the leadership of both sides of the House to put their heads together to smoothing out any bottlenecks or challenges that may impede the conduct of business in the House. I am ever ready to assist in this direction. The message which these results convey, I believe, may be summed up in the common expression, enough is enough. Or to put it differently, no more business as usual. And I repeat, no more business as usual. I believe that the people of Ghana, in voting as they did in the last elections, have signaled their frustration with and their disapproval of, quote, party first mindset and the associated unbridled partisanship and partisan polarization that have taken root in our politics and are giving our option of parliamentary democracy a bad name. I would like to believe also that the first indication that this message may have begun to sink is the very fact of my election as Speaker of Parliament. Despite not being the nominee or preference of those members whose party's flag bearer has been declared by the chair of the Electoral Commission as President-elect. I am sincerely grateful for the bipartisan approval of my speakership of this Parliament by you. And for now, all I can say is God richly bless you all. Honorable members, the people of Ghana would like us to prioritize the needs and concerns of the country and all Ghanaians above our own private or parochial interests or the narrow interests of one or the other political party. The people of Ghana are growing tired of politics as usual, of seeing their elected and appointed officials treat their political parties and political party identities as if those were bigger and more important than our common citizenship, and as if those artificial identities were ends in themselves as opposed to a means to the ultimate end, namely the collective progress and development of the country. The people of Ghana are demanding sound and effective solutions to their everyday problems, needs, frustrations, anxieties, and fears. The youth in particular wants to be inspired, motivated, and given hope for a better future of unlimited opportunities. They want this country to grow and to prosper, to realize and live up to its full potential, to use its bountiful resources to deliver opportunity and generate prosperity and hope for its people. And they are entitled to ask for that. In case we are at a loss as to what this means for the substance of the work we must do here in this House, you and I would do well to refer to the directive principles of state policy contained in Chapter 6 of the Constitution. The directive principles of state policy stands as a constant reminder to us of what duty parliaments and members owe individually and collectively to our dear country and its people. In swearing fidelity to the Constitution, as we did on the occasion of our respective assumptions of office, what we undertook to do at a minimum is to use the public power, the privilege, and the associated opportunities and resources entrusted to us in ways and for purposes that will bring us closer as a nation to realizing the ambitions, goals, principles, and policies we have set ourselves in Chapter 6 of the Constitution. I entreat all of you, honorable members of this august body, to make the directive principles of state policy your primary guide to action in the discharge of the responsibilities and roles of your office. Together with the provisions of Chapter 5 of the Constitution, including notably the provisions on economic rights, educational rights, cultural rights, women's rights, children's rights, rights of disabled persons, and rights of the sick, contained in Articles 24 through to 30 of the Constitution. The directive principles of state policy are, in essence, our own domestic version of the Sustainable Development Goals, whose realization we have committed ourselves internationally. Those ambitions, goals, principles, and policies are the barometer by which we must measure our service and performance in this House. In addressing the issue of what the people of Ghana expect of this Parliament, I would be remiss if I did not express my deepest regret, both as a former member of this Parliament and a citizen of this great nation, at the rather unruly behavior and commotion that took place on the floor of this House last week, including the presence of armed soldiers on the floor, and the breaches of the sanctity of the vote that would otherwise attract severe punishment in connection with the election of the Speaker of the 8th Parliament. It was, to put it mildly, despicable conduct unbecoming of people of honor. What makes it worse is the total absence of justification or reasonable excuse. As Speaker, I would like to believe that the spectacle of that historic day would not be repeated. Certainly not on my watch. I take a strong exception to such conduct and behavior, and I urge leadership to take a serious view of it and take the necessary measures to restore the lost dignity of this august House. This is at variance with the message that the good people of Ghana gave us in the 2020 election. Now to our core mandate and mission as an arm of government. Honorable members, the outcome of the recent general election employ us to rededicate ourselves to the true and core mandate and mission of Parliament. There appears to be some amount of confusion and misunderstanding as to what the appropriate role of Parliament is in our constitutional system. Much of this is as a result of the two-party structure and composition of the House within the context of our winner-take-all politics. Because of this, whenever Parliament is dominated by the same party that holds the presidency and forms the government, the common perception and expectation is that Parliament will automatically support the government's agenda without regard to its merits. In short, we have come to assume that government is entitled to have its way in Parliament. And because of this, there have been the Ghanaian public's perception of how Parliament has conducted itself under various administrations in the Fourth Republic. This current development of a House in which neither party has a secure or dominating majority, in other words, no majority party and no minority party, and of a speaker who is not beholden to or endorsed by the president, is causing many of our citizens, both in and out of government, including in this House, a great deal of consternation. To them, if government is not guaranteed its way in the Parliament, then such a Parliament can only be obstructionist. Honorable members, this concern is needless, as it is based on an incorrect view of what this Parliament's role is, and indeed, what its role has been in the House in the Fourth Republic. Regardless of which party has the upper hand in the House, it will be wrong to see Parliament's role as either obstructing or rubber stamping government's agenda. Parliament cannot discharge any of its core mandates, deliberative, legislative, financial control, oversight, and representational, by being either obstructionist or a rubber stamp. As the foremost accountability institution in our constitutional system, Parliament's role is to check and balance the executive, not to obstruct or rubber stamp the executive's agenda. Parliament does its job as it must when it questions, investigates, reviews, and scrutinizes the executive, its bills, its nominations, and its proposed agreements, and then proceed to approve, to amend, or to reject them as the case may be. As one who comes to the speakership with the longest record of previous service as a member of this House, I can recount instances of Parliament playing precisely this role and thereby helping to improve the quality of our nation's governance. Even in the first Parliament, when the new patriotic party boycotted the 1992 parliamentary elections and left the House with no real opposition party, bills proposed by the executive were not accorded routine rubber stamp treatment. They were subjected to close review, scrutiny, and modification where necessary. A case in point is a bill that later became the law criminalizing causing financial loss to the state. When it was introduced in the first Parliament, the bill as drafted had no mens rea. A mens rea requirement was absent. It would have made causing financial loss to the state a strict liability offense. I recall, and the Hansard record will show, that the amendment to add the word willfully to the law came from the floor of the House. With its almost total control of the House, the dominant party at that time could have simply rubber-stamped the bill, but it did not. I also recall that Parliament has, on one occasion in the past, declined to approve certain nominations of the President. A case in point was the refusal of the House to consider and to approve the nomination of a Court of Appeal judge to be appointed as Justice of the Supreme Court. As long as it is done in good faith and with transparent justification, such cases cannot be called rubber stamping or obstructionist. As Speaker, I will not yield to pressure from any quarter to allow this August House to be turned into a rubber stamp or an obstructor. With this, I move to the impartiality of the Speaker. Let me say a few words about the office of Speaker as envisioned under our Constitution. While past practice might lead some to think otherwise, the truth of the matter is that the Speaker is not a partisan political office. Regardless of which party nominated or voted to elect him or her, and regardless of his or her previous political background, the Speaker of Parliament of Ghana occupies a non-partisan, impartial office. There is no and nothing known as NPP Speaker or NDC Speaker. Since this is of interest to you, I repeat, there is no NPP Speaker or NDC Speaker. There is only a Speaker of the Parliament of Ghana and all Ghanaians. Unlike my counterpart in the American House of Representatives, the Ghanaian Speaker is not a member of the House. The Ghanaian Speaker presides over, but does not participate in proceedings of the House. And he or she has no vote. And he or she has no vote, not even a casting vote, in matters before the House. In fact, the speakership in Ghana is designed to be even more impartial and more apolitical than the Speaker of the House of Commons in Westminster. It is indeed to ensure that the Speaker remains impartial in presiding over the affairs of this House and Parliament that his election is done by secret vote. Honorable members, the independence and impartiality of the Speaker is particularly evident from one line in the Speaker's oath. That line is not found in the presidential oath, the oath of Vice President, the oath for Ministers of State and Cabinet, or the oath of a Member of Parliament. That line reads, and I quote, "And I will do right to all manner of persons in accordance with the Constitution and the laws and convention of Parliament, without fear or favor, affection or ill will," unquote. That last phrase, quote, "without fear or favor, affection or ill will," defines the office of Speaker as an impartial, non-partisan office. I assure you, I don't take this oath lightly at all. my destiny on this earth and the earth after is in my own hands. Honorable members, the only other oaths in the second schedule to the Constitution of the Fourth Republic in which you find this same language are the judicial oath and the oath of the Auditor General. This is because, like the Speaker, these offices too are meant to be non-partisan, impartial, and independent. Honorable members, much has been made of the fact that I come to this position from a long career as a politician and member of the National Democratic Congress, one of the two parties represented in this House. As far as I'm concerned, that fact is of no consequence to my new role as Speaker. In fact, it is not a novelty in this House. I myself have worked harmoniously with speakers of diverse political backgrounds, including on one occasion supporting the nomination for re-election as Speaker of the Fourth Republic, a well-known figure of the new Patriotic Party. In fact, I treated him like my father outside the business of the House. But more importantly, as I've made clear, the office I now occupy is an impartial, independent, and apolitical office, akin to that, in that regard, to the position of a justice or chief justice. Just as a person with a known party affiliation like myself could be appointed to the Supreme Court, so it is with the speakership. What matters above all is that once appointed as a chief justice or justice, or elected as a speaker, that person, regardless of his political past, must conduct himself or herself in accordance with the requirements and ethics of his or her new office, and as expressed in the oath of that office, without fear or favor, affection, or ill will. Honorable members, I intend to live by the oath I swore at the occasion of my election to this office, to respect and obey, to respect and abide by the will of the House. I am fully committed to being fair and impartial, but I'm also fully committed to being firm and resolute. Members must also, in reciprocity, respect and abide by my rulings and instructions. When in disagreement, the standing orders of the House has the answer for you. I will apply the authority of the House, as symbolized by the base, to protect and defend your prerogatives, privileges, and immunities of members of Parliament and staff as provided under the laws of the country. Let me at this juncture acknowledge the many contributions made by my predecessors, in whose shoes I walk today. The Right Honorable Justice Daniel Francis Annan laid a solid foundation to anchor the growth and development of parliamentary law, practice, and procedure in the 4th Republican Parliament. I acknowledge with great appreciation and respect the contributions of Right Honorable Peter Lajeti, Right Honorable Ebenezer Sechi Hughes, Right Honorable Justice Joyce Adeline Bamford Adom, Right Honorable Edward Kobla Do Ajahu, and Right Honorable Professor Aaron Mike Okoye. I have worked closely with all these speakers as a leader and a member of the Parliamentary Service Board. And I can attest to the tireless efforts each and every one of them made to consolidate, strengthen the institution of Parliament, and to build the capacity of members and staff of Parliament. I pledge to build on these achievements and to widen and deepen the frontiers of parliamentary governance even further, particularly so that we'll be opening our doors to the public, civil society, the media, and all who are interested in the health of the democracy in this country. Honorable members, some critical laws could not be passed by the previous Parliament, and these have gone into abeyance with the dissolution of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic. Draft legislations such as the Affirmative Action Bill, Sparsal Rights Bill, Standing Orders of the House, which has been pending before the House since 2002, the Budget Bill, International Business and Agreements Bill, calls for urgent action. I call on the responsible sponsoring government agencies or institutions to resubmit this bill to the House early for consideration. In particular, I call on Parliament to expeditiously deal with the review of the standing orders of the House. My vision, with open heart, is a vision of bipartisan, inclusive, participatory, responsive, efficient, and effective Parliament. The 8th Parliament will have to work to earn the respect of the people of Ghana and to restore the image and dignity of the institution. There is nothing more noble and satisfying than to render services to your people. I would like to end by echoing the words of President Akufo-Addo when he delivered his message on the State of the Nation on the dissolution of the 7th Parliament. I want to quote, "The good people of Ghana have spoken and given Parliament almost equal strength on both sides of the House. We have no chance I repeat, the good people of Ghana have spoken and given Parliament almost equal strength on both sides of the House. We have no choice but to work with the consequences of the desires of the people. The House would have to be more accommodating of each other's views and probably devise new ways of conducting its affairs," unquote. I fully subscribe to that view. No more, no less. Cooperation, dialogue, accommodation, and consensus building must guide this Parliament in the conduct of its business. We must work together for the betterment of Ghana and Ghanaians. That, I believe, is the demand of Ghanaians and the loud and clear message of the 2020 general elections. That is the message in the votes of 136 in favor of Right Honorable Adom Michael Quaig, as to 138 for Honorable Alban Sumana Kenso with one spoiled ballot, which propelled me to this high office of Speaker of the Parliament of Ghana. Honorable members, the battle is always the Lord's. Glory be to the Most High. I thank all of you for your patience and attention. God bless you. Honorable members, I will always be guided by the leaders from both sides of the aisle. And so I want to invite comments from the leaders. The Honorable Member for Tamal South, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, wants to have the first bite.
Right Honorable Speaker of the 8th Parliament, the Honorable Alban Sumana Bagbin, maybe I should as well add Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin. I'm pleased and heartily want to congratulate you on the assumption of the high office of Speaker of Parliament of the 8th Parliament. I wish you well and I wish you every success. Now, Speaker, permit me to paraphrase one of your own words and three from President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when in your submission you quoted from him, contributing to advance the progress of our country. That should be our collective challenge as a people. How do we contribute to advance the progress of our country? How do you contribute as Speaker, and how do I contribute as Member of Parliament to advancing the progress of Ghana? Naturally, this will be contingent on ensuring peace, ensuring stability in our country, and working tirelessly to better the lot of the Ghanaian, to improve the quality of life of the Ghanaian. Mr. Speaker, you come to this office with enormous and perhaps unparalleled experience as a legislator and lawmaker of our republic. The passion with which you serve the people of Nadole for those long years, only probably now equaled by the Honorable Osei Mensah Bonsu, if he completes the 10th, the 8th, the 8th term. I say if he completes the 10th. Mr. Speaker, So you come to it with enormous experience, and I trust that the Parliament of Ghana will be stronger, more transparent, and more accountable, and more importantly, more responsive to the needs and aspirations of the Ghanaian people. Now, Mr. Speaker, to quote you, you have a duty to lead this House to end that consternation you referred to. And you need the support of members of this House to do that. So, Mr. Speaker, whilst I congratulate you, I'll urge you and our colleagues that collectively we have a duty to repair the reputation of this Parliament. To borrow another word, perhaps a duty to polish that which has tarnished in terms of how we conducted ourselves in processes leading to your election as Speaker. But what must be respected is that the sanctity of the secrecy of the ballot, which is a requirement under the 1992 Constitution and also borrowed in our standing orders, must at all times be respected and upheld by all of us in the promotion of deeper democratic ethos and values. Mr. Speaker, you have also particularly referred to the nature and character of this Parliament. The Ghanaian people, in the outcome of 2020 presidential and parliamentary election, as far as Parliament is concerned, produced an inevitable outcome of no majority in Parliament, 137 NPP, 137 NDC. Understandably, I'm informed that the distinguished member for Fomina has decided to do business with the NPP. Doing business, in my view, does not represent joining a political party, and I say so. I say so within the context of Article 97 and guided by that authoritative statement of Cross on rules on interpretation when he says the expresso unius rule. Independent is independent and political party is political party. But Mr. Speaker, whilst congratulating you, the Honorable Osei Mensah in the 7th Parliament had it easy because he had comfort of numbers. This time he does not. And he cannot procure nor add to it other than a cooperation and support from the member from Fomina, nothing more. So, Mr. Speaker, what he must understand, this site, however we are referred to, you will need us going forward. I didn't even reference portions of the Constitution, but any of you can read Article 11, 268, 174. It requires 2/3 majority. You don't have that. You will need us going forward. That is why you must tolerate and respect us no matter what. Going forward, the Constitution, I can mention 10 more. Mr. Speaker, I conclude on that note. I have said this because I know my colleague is a very experienced lawmaker, that this Parliament, cooperation and consensus is compelling and an imperative. Did you want the obvious? Mr. Speaker, on matters relating to whoever invited the military to the chamber and onto the floor, going forward, we will demand an inquiry to it in order that it never ever happens as you have assured. Because it's only democracies that have parliaments. And we have a duty jealously to protect our democracy and to grow our democracy. Parliament remains a forum, as I have repeatedly said, where right and wrong is debated. Mr. Speaker, the Ghanaian people voted in December that when we debate right and wrong, let right prevail and not partisanship. And that they want to see an end to the divisiveness in our country. They want to see an end to the polarization in our country. They want to see an end to the excessive partisanship of our country. And that we hold strong together our democratic values and ethos. Mr. Speaker, I can only wish you well, wish you every success, trust that you will moderate debate, impartial and neutral as you indicated, rule on matters of procedure. Mr. Speaker, I cannot conclude without saying that this House, and probably I'm sure my colleague will touch it, we will have to take a rapid action on our rules of procedure and standing orders. I must admit that we are almost at the concluding stages of adopting new standing orders to ourselves, thanks to the Honorable Oseiche Mensah and Professor Okwe as Speaker of Parliament. I recall the last meeting chaired by First Deputy Speaker of Parliament. But Mr. Speaker, to assure my colleague, we disagreed only on matter of procedure, whilst it was his argument that we could adopt it merely by resolution. I reminded him, and Mr. Speaker, I'm compelled to quote Article 11(7) of the 1992 Constitution, that it was my view, and Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I quote, and I'll be ending just on that note. Mr. Speaker, Article 11 is on the hierarchy of the laws, and 11(7) reads, any order, rule, or regulation made by a person or authority under a power conferred by the Constitution or any other law shall be laid before Parliament, be published in the Gazette. More importantly, satisfy the mandatory 21 days. So it was a matter of procedure, and to assure him that I have no objection, neither do colleagues on my side have any objection to us adopting improved new standing orders for this House. So we should pursue it with rapid action. What the disagreement was the procedure for its adoption, whether it should go through the requirement in Article 11(7) or by resolution. So, Mr. Speaker, once again, I want to congratulate you. I have faith in you. I have known and worked with you, and I trust that at the end of January 2025, if God gives you good health and long life, and you serve this country with wisdom and experience, our parliament and good governance architecture would only be the beneficiary of your enormous and parallel experience. But you owe it, Mr. Speaker, to the President and the people of Ghana to work to advance the progress of Ghana. Once again, congratulations.
May we now listen to the Honorable Member for Swame, the Honorable Oseiche Mensah Bonsu.
Right Honorable Speaker, on the occasion of your coronation as the Speaker of the 8th Parliament, I rise on behalf of the Majority Caucus, soon to be the Speaker, soon to be declared
Honorable Member, order.
Honorable part to express our congratulations.
Honorable members, let me repeat. The ability to catch the eye of the speaker includes good behavior. And so I'm taking note of the happenings in the House. We will soon, the House will soon be broadcast live, and your families, your kings, your children will all be observing you on the floor. And then we will see whether you continue not to exhibit parliamentary behavior. So, honorable members, let's listen to the honorable member for Swami in silence.
The Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, as I began by indicating, on the occasion of your coronation as the Speaker of the 8th Parliament, I rise on behalf of the caucus that is soon to be declared as the majority caucus. Yeah. And on my own part, to express our congratulations to you. Right Honorable Speaker, for 28 continuous years of your adult life, you have rendered service as a member of Parliament to this country. You hold a record that is going to be extremely difficult to break. 28 years, continuous years of good service to this country. Mr. Speaker, I know that some members who began with you got their stay in this House truncated. They have recycled themselves. Mr. Speaker, I don't know. I do not know whether they will have the good fortune to match your record, much more to break that record. Mr. Speaker, you are not one of the members of Parliament who have just walked through Parliament for all these years. You have positively impacted the development of parliamentary democracy since entering Parliament. From your days as chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, through your position as the minority leader for 8 years, majority leader for a total of 4 years, Minister of State for 2 ministries, and second Deputy Speaker in the 7th Parliament. And now, by the mighty hand of divine providence, to experience a second transmogrification in your life. Speaker,
I am still a human being.
It is most unfortunate, as you yourself related to, that the processes leading to your ascension to the high office of the 3rd citizen of this country were characterized by unfortunate, regrettable, and indeed reprehensible incidents. This House must work together to ensure that these unfortunate events do not recur in any form or shape, and these events, Speaker, and conduct must not be accorded space for any further procreation. It is my considered opinion, Mr. Speaker, that this House must move swiftly to resolve to overcome this initial misstep and focus on partnering government to develop the country in unity and tranquility, and indeed secure for ourselves and posterity the blessings of liberty, equality of opportunity, and prosperity as contained in the preamble of the 1992 Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the closeness of the numbers of the caucuses imposes an obligation to deepen consultation in our pursuit of good democratic governance that is foundationed on probity and accountability. Speaker, on behalf of the caucus that I lead, I assure you, Mr. Speaker, of our commitment in honesty and sincerity to work diligently with you to realize the policy objectives contained in the directive principles of state policy, in particular, the realization of basic human rights, a healthy economy, the right to work, the right to good health care, and the right to education. The Ghanaian people deserve nothing less. Let me also congratulate your two deputy speakers on their election as your first and second deputies. I believe that together this Parliament can and indeed must set new standards in our national development agenda. I also would afford myself the opportunity to congratulate all honorable members, continuing and new entrants, who on 7th of January were sworn in as members of the 8th Parliament. I believe the members would apply themselves to the duties and functions of members of Parliament, including, in particular, as the Speaker, you have once again related to the duties of representation, deliberation, information dissemination, legislation, power of the purse function, oversight, conflict resolution, ratification of treaties, protocols, and conventions. The Speaker, I believe members will come to appreciate that members of Parliament are not agents of development. Accordingly, many of the members of Parliament herein assembled may have to go back and edit the messages on their billboards and commit themselves to the functions of Parliament and parliamentarians, the Speaker, which does not include development, that is, acting as agents of development. Mr. Speaker, this is your maiden statement in the House, and in the spirit of cooperation and collaboration, it will be inappropriate to attempt to litigate even portions of the statement that you made, in particular relating to the figures that you quoted as having supported your election. The Speaker, with respect to the Chair, I may disagree with that. However, as I said, in the spirit of providing ourselves a new beginning, I wouldn't want to further comment on that, even though, as I've said, I disagree with the figures that you have quoted. Mr. Speaker, in the 7th Parliament, even in the hugeness of numbers that we had, that is 169 as opposed to 106, the then majority on any typical day needed the cooperation and indeed the collaboration of the minority, especially the leadership of the minority. And Mr. Speaker, we did just that. Mr. Speaker, in the history of this Parliament, I'm not aware of any leader in this House who has reached out to the other side as I have done. My colleague, the Honorable Cletus Abuka is here. Mr. Speaker, you yourself, you are here. I will testify that in the history of this Parliament, if you open our eyes wide, we know the consultation, my colleague, the minority leader, the former minority leader, the Honorable Haruna Idrissa, the Honorable Haruna Idrissa would attest to that fact, and that is notwithstanding whatever people say outside. The Speaker, the caucus that I lead, and indeed the leader for the member for Fomena, is not oblivious of the constitutional provision relating to his doing business with the NPP caucus. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, he was very careful in his choice of words. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't amount to crossing carpet, what he has done, but doing business with the NPP caucus, understandably gave the NPP caucus one more additional seat in the conduct of business in this House. Mr. Speaker, and therefore we would, without any equivocation, constitute the majority caucus in this House. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the minority leader on this issue about the approval of the new standing orders. Mr. Speaker, I was clear in my mind what we ought to do. And indeed, all the processes that we have adopted in approving standing orders in this House, beginning in 1983, never came to be subjected to Article 11, sub 7 of the Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, it was for a good reason. It was for a good reason. It's the reason why all the standing orders were approved by motion in plenary. Mr. Speaker, if we have to go that route and apply ourselves to that vehicle, we may have problems. And the reason is this. That route quoted by my colleague would suggest to us that there must be a parent act from which would ensue regulations, instruments, and orders. The Speaker, that parent act of 1965 has no provision for the introduction of standing orders. It would then mean that if you have to go that route, Mr. Speaker, we may have to go and amend that parent act. And I thought that if we applied ourselves to the process that we had done, that would even shorten the route for us. Mr. Speaker, I believe if we apply ourselves to that route, within 2 weeks maximum, you should be able to adopt these new standing orders. And if members insist that we should go that route of Article 11.7, the Speaker will run into turbulence. And that is why I have always advised that we need really to apply ourselves to a motion so that we circumvent the process, as has always been done, and then we move forward to adopt the new standing orders, which, in my view, the Speaker, would reposition Parliament in the conduct of business in this House. I have no inhibitions as to the direction to go in this regard. Mr. Speaker, once again, this is the time to congratulate you. And once again, I congratulate you, your deputies, on your elevation, and as well wish all members, because we are all beginning a new term, a good and healthy stay in this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I thank you most enormously for this space accorded me. Once again, I thank you very much.
Honorable members, I received a letter from one of your colleagues, the Honorable Andrew Esiema Amwako, the Member of Parliament for Fomena constituency. The member that is holding the balance in this House. I have the letter in my hands, and I'll proceed to read the contents to all of you. The letter emanates from his office and is dated 13th January 2021. The Right Honorable Speaker, Office of Parliament, Osu, Accra. Dear Sir, declaration to do business with the NPP caucus. I, Andrew Esiema Amwako, an independent member of Parliament for Formina constituency, and now the second deputy speaker for the 8th Parliament, do hereby declare that I shall, for purposes of transacting business in the House, associate with the NPP caucus in the same Parliament. For the avoidance of doubt, I do hereby affirm that I shall cooperate and collaborate with the NPP caucus in the 8th Parliament. Dated this 13th day of January, dated this 13th day of January 2021. Yours faithfully, signed, Honorable Andrew Esiema Amwako, MP, Formina constituency, and copy to the leader of the NPP caucus. Honorable members, with this official declaration to the House will accord him the space to do as he has stated. Whatever he said outside was of no effect so far as the business of the House is concerned. And therefore, he had to do it officially for it to be read and captured in the Hansard. And so what we have now, you have the New Patriotic Party wing or caucus in Parliament, together with the independent member of Parliament from Formina. And they now constitute the majority group.
You are desperate indeed. You are desperate for a win indeed. Is that all? You are desperate indeed. If the desperation do you so. Every win is a win. You are just majority.
Enti die ekokoso ya no nti se no de wo mrahye bedwafie mu no ye wo Adom kuma na ye wo Adom dodo a NPP amanyeko no na ekura dodo no nti oye majority na fe NDC eye minority. Bra speaker PM Penino ekenkan Fomina MP mrahye bedwani na numu asem se one NPP amanyeko no ebeye adwuma. Enti no de abekoso akire bia no ye nua be ma bednego asante asiedu whatever brain tea ya in free ha na kwaso ahwe ye ne tie ye enumere kase no mu no ye de ni nyina ebeba ha na bema kwan na pronto brainstorm ni nyina no ye de besie midi afia amankwa tamaklo